We've got a really great craft today. We're going to choose something that it was just heading for the recycling into something really beautiful. Either this gorgeous coloured heart Mexican inspired decoration, or this gorgeous silver bird, not coloured but the same sort of idea. So it's just really simple. All we need is one of these kinds of trays. Not ordinary foil because it's not strong enough, but something that is strong like that. Take away things, something like that from the supermarket. You need one of those. You need something to mark with. A biro, a pencil, or something I found really useful with these dotting tools that nail technicians have, or you might have in your craft set. So if you've got one of those, that's great, but a pencil or a biro will also work. You need some scissors, quite strong, sort of big scissors for this one, and you need something to smooth it out with. And my implement of choice is a wooden spoon, and I will show you what to do with that. And you also need some sharpies. Okay, or that kind of permanent pen. That's the kind of thing we want, and you want the ones that are in the darker part of the colour spectrum. Okay, the yellows and things maybe a bit less so, but in the darker ones you want to have a go there. So that's all. So we don't really have very much. If you want to hang them up, you'll need some needle and a thread. If you're sticking them on a badge or on a card, you wouldn't need that part of it. But we're going to make them look really great, and they're nowhere near as difficult as they look. They look really impressive and they're really easy to make. So you need to start with your tray, and you need to eat the food inside it first. Gorgeous, that's gone, mozzarella sticks in this case, and then you need to wash it out. And then we need to cut it so that we're getting the flat bit. Now it's really noisy when I'm just cutting this, so I'm going to stop talking while I do it. So what I've done there is cut the four corners so that I can open this out flat. Okay, like that. Now I don't want to make an enormous one, and I just want the sort of flat part of it there. That's all I want. So I'm going to cut these bits off. Don't throw these out, okay? Don't throw them out for a second. You're going to want them later. But it makes a load more noise actually on the video than it does in real life, so it's not so bad. Right, now you'll see that you've got the pattern on here that's left over, this kind of part of it that's left over, and we don't want that. We want it smooth. So I'm taking my wooden spoon and I am just rolling over all of those bits so that it's smooth. You see what I've just done there when I pick it up? Okay, so I'm taking off the edges and making it as smooth as possible just while I'm going. This isn't a really enormous job. You don't need to worry about this completely. There's a little bit in the middle there, that's the bit that says recycling with the little packet. I'm just going to smooth it off, but I can't get rid of that deliberately, so I might leave that, I might avoid that when I'm doing my cutting out. So there you are, you've just got your nice smooth surface like that now. It depends on what you're using as to how smooth you can get it. If you are ending up using the end parts like this that have the more ridges on, you won't be able to get rid of them entirely, but you can incorporate that into your design, which I will show you another one later. But as smooth as you can is what you need to do. And then you need to decide what you're going to do, what you're going to cut out. So the two that I showed you were the bird, and that's what we're going to do live at the Zoom tomorrow. So I won't show you this one just on the video, but you can come and join me tomorrow live if you want to make a bird or a heart. And these ones, these Mexican, oh, I've got the thing stuck around it there. These Mexican inspired ones are basically hearts with something added, a bit of sort of embellishment around them added. So you need to think about your design, and there are plenty of designs on the internet. If you're not the sort of person who can come up with something out of your mind, there's loads and loads of pictures that you can do. Even if you want to do just a really simple heart, go back a couple of videos. There are two other ones where I show you how to make a heart template, and you can use that. But it doesn't have to be a heart, you can do anything you want. So I've drawn out a sort of idea here. So we've got a basic heart that we've decided to do there, and then I've added another layer around it, and then added some of these sort of leafy frilly shapes on top and brought it back round. And that's the kind of thing I want to do. So just give that a little bit of thought first. Have a look what you want to do. If you're not comfortable with drawing it at all, print something off and draw around it. Get out a coaster and draw around it. Anything that you want, but that's the kind of design I'm going for. And what I'm going to do is copy that onto here and then cut it out. I only really need the outline of it on there to cut it out. So to avoid making that hideous noise again, I've already cut that out. Okay, and that's what I've ended up with that, with just a sort of basic copy of that. You could just have a simple heart if that's all you want to do. Okay, so that's what I've got written down like that. Now, all you need to do is cut that out, and I'm just going to show you that it is really easy to cut the foil. It's much easier than you think. So I've just freehanded that because I've done so many hearts now that I can do that. But that is what happens when you cut it out. You just end up with a really lovely thing. It's much easier than it looks. It looks like it's going to be, you know, complicated metal tools and such like that. And it isn't. It just cuts out nicely like that. So at the most basic, you would have that, or you can have a slightly embellished heart with bits on like that. We're just going to pause the video now and change the angle so that you can see what I'm going to do next. Okay, so looking down on it now, this is how it looks when you've cut it out. You don't need to do this with a Sharpie. I'm doing it so that you can see that we've just got the basic outline here of our heart with that same thing I did with on the picture. So it's a heart with a bit extra like that. Okay, now you don't need to draw with that pen. You don't need to do that. You can just do that with a pencil if you want to, or freehand it. Now we're working on the back, so you want to have the shiniest side downwards at this point. So if there's not a big difference between them, it doesn't matter. But if you've got a very shiny side, put that downwards, and we're now going to be working on the back of it. And we're going to get our dotting tool, biro, pencil. I'll do a bit with each. And we're going to go over that line, just drawing it around like that. And around like that. And when you turn it over, that's giving you that nice embellished look on the other side. So you're going to follow your lines around, pushing quite hard. You don't need any sort of fancy surface to do it on. It's absolutely fine to just do it on a table. I do find that sometimes the grain of the wood ends up slightly coming through, but we've gone through those like that, and can you see you've got that slightly embellished? Now you want the centre part of your heart here to have a bit of decoration on it, so you could decide to do some very simple flowers. So I'm just drawing a little circle and then drawing a very simple flower around like that, and I'm going to do 2 of those as I go, and then maybe another little simple heart down there. Round the edge here, you want some decorations. These are all about being excessively decorative. Remember I said they were Mexican? Think about that Day of the Dead skull thing where they're incredibly decorated. So you're looking at just doing them like this, pressing hard as you go round. I'll just show you how to do it with a pencil as well, in case that's all you've got. So you're just making these little indentations with a pencil or a biro. If you're doing it with a biro, it does leave sometimes a little bit of colour, but it doesn't matter because remember, this is the back of what you're doing. And you might just want to make some dots and things like this as you're going along all the way around the edges. And when you flip over, that's what you've got. You've now got it looking really gorgeous and embellished. And that's basically the bird. If you're doing the bird, that's what you're ending up with. Just that idea. I'll show you. I'll talk about how to do the wings in a minute, but that's what you've got. But if you want to have the coloured one, I'll show you how to do that. But we can flip onto the other angle to save my director's arms for that. Okay, so just go over all of those lines a few times, making sure it's a really clear indentation when you've got this. And that's fine, you can leave it there if you want to. I've done a much simpler one there, where you can see that that's just a much simpler heart with designs on, if you wanted to have a little go with that first. Okay, just to see. Now, how are we going to do this gorgeous embellished look with the Sharpies? If you colour your Sharpies onto foil, you get that lovely metallic look. Now, remember earlier when I said don't throw out these bits? That's because I want you to test which Sharpies work well on there, because they all come out slightly differently. So you can use this little bit to think, right, which ones look good. Now, I've already done that earlier, so I know that all these ones look good. But just check on your little offcut which ones do look good and decide which you're going to do. I say, really, I tried like yellow and stuff and it just doesn't come out very strongly. But you just really need to colour in. They just come out nice and sharp like that and show the metallic thing. So because this is a heart, I'm going to start with doing, and I am just colouring around, carefully around, so that you are not going on the indentations, you're going in between. I'm just going to lift that up so that you can see what I'm talking about. So I've decided to colour around like that. Okay, so you just keep colouring around all those bits and decide what to do. Now, the Sharpies do fade. I found this with them in general, whatever you're using Sharpies for. If you're going to hang this outside in your garden, and they do look lovely outside in the garden, eventually it will fade. And you can either just live with that or top it back up again by giving it a little extra colour. If this is going to be on a card or a badge, something that you're not using all the time, then it doesn't matter. But you do need to do that. It will fade a little bit when it's outside. But it does have that really lovely burnished look like that when you go round. So you just keep colouring and you end up with this. How I've created that little design at the top there, I did the pink first and then gave a little extra accent with the different colour on top, the darker colours. If you were to put on something like a yellow or an orange and you think it's not strong enough, then just go over the top of it. It does take just a couple of minutes for the Sharpie to dry, so don't run your hand right over it or you'll get it all over your hand. Just carrying on. And then you add yourself a hanging loop with just a needle and thread. Just go through. The needle goes easily through it and then you've got that nicely hung up like that. You can add beads and things like that so that you end up with this kind of thing. And they are really nice hung up outside. And there's an extra bit on the end of the video that will show you. Tomorrow I'm going to go through doing the bird. It's basically the same idea, and to stick them on you're going to need a glue gun. That is how we're getting those wings stuck on. Just curling them around. It's just a slightly more advanced way of doing that to create the slightly more 3D effect, but basically the same thing. Okay, so join me for that one tomorrow. Otherwise, I hope you really love making your Mexican hearts. I'm going to carry on colouring this one and I'll put a little bit at the end so you can see what it looks like. And I'll see you soon. Bye. So here's the finished one, all embellished and cut up. And then you show this one here, which just shows you how you've got the using the indentations that you couldn't get rid of as part of your design. Okay, here it is, hanging on the gate, blowing in the wind. I'll flip it over for you, making that pleasing noise as it clinks around and looks lovely in the sunshine.